When James arrived home that evening, his expression was somber as he shared the news of his demotion. I nearly dropped my cup of tea in surprise. We had sensed that his company's recent downturn and upcoming restructuring might lead to changes, but I hadn't imagined it would affect us so personally. As his wife, I knew my support was more important than ever during such a challenging time. "It's just bad luck, and times are hard," I reassured him with a smile, trying to keep the mood light. "Besides, I'm still working, so there's no need to worry too much." I'm Anna, 46 years old, and work full-time in a back office. I live with James, who is 4 years older than me, our high school sophomore daughter, Stephanie, and my 70-year-old mother-in-law, Linda. Although Linda and I sometimes clash, our interactions are minimal since I spend most of my day at work, so I choose not to let it bother me too much. To Stephanie, I explained, "Your dad is a bit upset about his job, but let's try to keep things normal around him." However, James began to express his frustrations more openly, often directing his upset feelings toward those he trusted most, including me. The next day, as I was cleaning the hallway on my day off, James passed by and made a cutting remark about my weight. "You've put on some weight since we got married, haven't you?" he said sharply. "Well, I am 46, you know. It's normal around menopause," I replied calmly, noting that my recent health checkup showed that I was not overweight, but his next words were hurtful. "Forget the health checkup, you look unsightly and it's embarrassing," he snapped, before calling me ugly and retreating to his room. I was left in shock, pinching my side in disbelief. It was true that I could pinch an inch of my waist, but his sudden harshness felt like a piercing arrow. I was overwhelmed by the intensity of his words, and it hurt deeply to hear such things from someone I loved and supported. In the turmoil, I had completely forgotten that I was holding the window squeegee, which slipped from my grasp and clattered loudly on the hallway floor. From that day forward, James's behavior towards me became increasingly harsh. To make matters worse, my mother-in-law, having overheard our argument that weekend, decided it was her place to get involved, and the tension in the house escalated. One day, as I climbed the stairs with a laundry basket intent on hanging the clothes to dry, I found my mother-in-law waiting at the top rather than at the bottom of the stairs. With a sigh of disapproval, she commented, "Oh, how dreadful. If only you weren't so overweight, we could pass each other easily on the stairs. I wouldn't have to wait here blocked by your size." During dinner, as I served chicken tenders, she pointedly remarked, "Isn't this the type of food that's contributing to your weight gain?" And without waiting for my response, she took my plate away, insisting that only the non-overweight family members should eat. According to my gynecologist, it's normal to gain or lose weight after middle age, yet my mother-in-law, who was as slender as a dried-up tree, seemed to ignore these natural changes and continued her relentless taunts. Despite the discomfort, I had grown somewhat used to these annoyances. However, what truly pained me was the shift in my husband's behavior. Since the incident, James stopped talking to me altogether. He expressed no gratitude and offered no compliments, not even during the meals I prepared. He would eat in silence and leave the table without a word. Even our shared spaces like the bathroom and bedroom felt isolating as he would come and go silently, turning his back to me each night to bury himself in his smartphone. Feeling increasingly invisible, one night I gathered the courage to confront him in our bedroom. "Is there a reason you're ignoring me?" I asked tentatively. His response was chillingly indifferent. "Not really, but I prefer not to engage much at home," he replied coldly. He then added more harshly, "I don't want to be associated with someone in the family who is this overweight. If you truly care about me, you'll lose some weight." His words were disheartening. Despite my daily walk of 1.5 miles to commute, his lack of understanding and empathy weighed heavily on me. Age, I knew, brought inevitable changes, but his coldness felt like an unbridgeable gap between us. I've been doing everything I can to manage my weight, especially considering the typical gains that come with age. Despite this, James simply turned away, dismissing my efforts as if they were nothing. "If you're not seeing results, you might as well not be trying," he said sharply. "Don't speak to me anymore." From then on, he truly ceased to acknowledge my existence. My mother-in-law, meanwhile, continued her relentless jibes about my diet. Whenever meat, fruits, or rice appeared on the table, she would scrutinize my choices. "Are you supposed to eat that? Do you realize what you're doing to yourself?" Eventually, I found myself relegated to eating just salads and boiled vegetables, while James sat silently, mechanically moving his chopsticks, not uttering a single word. As our marriage seemed to be disintegrating, I began to pack my belongings in quiet moments, thinking that perhaps it was time to leave. If this was how James wanted to treat me, maybe disappearing was the best response. When I shared these thoughts with my daughter, she immediately offered her support. "I understand, Mom. It's painful to watch Grandma and Dad constantly picking on you. I'll come with you. We can live with your parents, and I can still go to high school from there." Just as I was preparing for what seemed like the end, James approached me with a rare smile, suggesting we had a drink together. "Tomorrow is the first day of my demotion, after all. Let's have a drink just this once," he said, trying to lighten the mood as he proposed making mimosa for dinner. It might have been the first time he'd directly spoken to me since announcing his demotion. "Stephanie can have juice, and I'll fix a mimosa for you, Anna," he said, placing the drinks on the table. But his sudden change of behavior felt odd and out of place. As he turned his back to grab the TV remote, I discreetly sniffed the drink he'd poured for me. There was a faint but unmistakable scent that I recognized from my own cooking experiences. Anger flared within me. How could he think to serve me this? I had reached my breaking point. Between my mother-in-law's constant harassment and James's prolonged neglect, I could no longer tolerate the situation. It was time for a change, a significant one, not just for my well-being, but also for my daughter's future. The moment I saw the mimosa, my patience reached its limit. "James, could you please fetch the Beaufort cheese from the fridge?" I asked gently. "It's from the local dairy farm and it's delicious. It'll be nice for our family time. Would you mind getting it?" My tone was hopeful, suggesting a semblance of normalcy and cooperation in our strained household dynamics. As James headed to the fridge, I seized the opportunity to discreetly swap my drink with the one placed on the seat next to mine, previously intended for Linda. When he returned with the cheese, I brightly announced, "Now that we have our snacks, I'll go call Stephanie and Linda. Dinner's ready." My voice carried through the house, beckoning them to the dining room. They joined us shortly, and we all settled around the table. Unlike the usual fare, tonight's dinner featured chicken noodle soup, Beaufort cheese, and the mimosa, with Stephanie opting for juice. "Let's dig in," Stephanie said, breaking the silence that hung between the adults. I took a sip of the swapped mimosa, noting James watching me intently. With a forced smile, I commented, "Yeah, it's quite good." James mumbled a response, but I chose to ignore him, focusing instead on my salad. I took another sip of the mimosa. Suddenly, a stream of red liquid burst from Linda's mouth, reminiscent of a scene from a monster movie. "Wait, Grandma, what happened?" Stephanie exclaimed, jumping up in surprise as some of the liquid splattered onto her salad. "Did you choke? Are you okay?" Stephanie quickly fetched a towel and returned, offering it to Linda, who was wiping her mouth in shock. "What is this, Grandma? Your mouth. It looks like a spicy cobra," Stephanie said, her concern escalating. He put it in my drink," Linda shouted, attempting to reach for me, but I deftly brushed her hand away. "It wasn't me. James made the drinks," I replied calmly, redirecting the blame to where it truly belonged. This revelation seemed to stun Linda. "What?" she screamed, her lips still stained from the sauce, as she turned to glare at James, who was now visibly trembling. Leaning towards him, I rested my hand on the table, adding a bit of pressure. "You thought you could sneak it into the mimosa, didn't you?" I accused softly. I could detect the slight difference, even though it was subtle. The tension at the table was palpable, as James's deceptive attempt was unveiled, shifting the dynamics of our strained evening. I had recognized the taste instantly. It was that hot sauce from Georgia, the one with a hint of lime that I found more appealing than the more famous death sauce. That was a dash of hell, wasn't it? I confronted James firmly, referring to the sauce I discovered at a food fair, known for its fiery kick softened by subtle lime undertones. That hint of lime was what I picked up, I explained, clarifying how I detected his sneaky addition to the drink. My mother-in-law probably didn't notice due to the aroma of the mimosa, or perhaps she thought the lime was meant to be part of the drink's flavor. Regardless, this was an incredibly vicious prank. Wait, Dad did that? Stephanie looked at us, her face etched with disbelief. James, looking cornered, confessed, I intended for Anna to have it. You should switch it with yours. His words were almost desperate, revealing the malicious intent behind his act. Just because she realized it was meant for me, she wants to pass it off to me? I'm not touching that dangerous concoction, I stated firmly, keeping the pressure on James. And why exactly did you think pulling such a stunt was acceptable? I pressed him further. You were putting on weight, and spicy food can boost metabolism, so I figured I'd give it a try. James tried to justify his actions. Pathetic, I scoffed, dismissing his feeble excuse as utterly embarrassing. Under the weight of the pressure, James shifted uncomfortably in his chair. I'm not crazy. This is a legitimate reason to support your diet. Here, swap your cup with mine and have a taste. I made it for you, he urged, trying to persuade me to accept his rationale. Retreating slightly as he saw my unwavering stance, he added, What are you implying? As the one who prepared it, you should be the one to sample it. Come on. Rising from my seat, I grabbed the cup containing the fiery concoction meant for my mother-in-law and placed it firmly in front of my husband. After ignoring me and treating me as if I've been invisible for so long, did you honestly expect me to drink something you claimed to make with a smile out of the blue? Did that not occur to you, in your empty head? Isn't it all too childish? Come on, taste it. As the one who brewed it, take some responsibility. The tension in the room thickened as I closed the gap, demanding accountability for the first time in a long while. I slammed my hand down on the table, the sound echoing through the room. In response, James, likely trying to avoid the escalating confrontation, rose from his chair and stepped back. Amidst the ensuing tense silence, a soft yet firm voice emerged. It was our daughter, Stephanie, her words sounding strained as though it took her immense effort to voice them. Taking out your frustration on Mom, who supports you the most when work gets tough, and subjecting her to repeated cruel treatment, it's like a childish prank. I might not be supposed to say this to my parents, but it's too immature and unbearable to witness, she said. Stephanie stood up, addressing her father directly. Is it wrong to struggle with weight? Mom wakes up early, walks to work, and even packs her lunch. It's not fair to say she's not making an effort. She then turned to face her grandmother. And you, going along with it, taking away Mom's dinner like the chicken tenders incident? What Grandma is doing is reminiscent of high school drama. It's embarrassing, she remarked firmly. Flustered, Linda began to offer a confused excuse. That's not it. I'm just concerned about Stephanie's mom not gaining any more weight. I want her to feel positive about herself in front of her granddaughter. Besides, Stephanie, like you, is also struggling with weight. But Stephanie remained resolute. Compassion is about understanding and supporting the other person. It pains me to see Mom's dinner taken away, especially when she looks so upset. That's not compassion. Mom hasn't had any health issues in her checkups, yet taking away her food is just plain mean. Linda fell silent, seemingly taken aback by Stephanie's words. Stephanie then turned her attention back to her father. Mom goes to the gynecologist regularly and stays active. Yet, Dad, you just brush her aside because she's gained a bit of weight. What's up with that? Your indifference creates such tension in the house. Can't you see it?" She continued, her voice growing more passionate. "Even Raymond and Aunt Kayla from the cookie ads are on the plump side. Ever heard of happy weight? If Mom becomes a lovely grandmother like Aunt Kayla as she gets older, I'd be overjoyed. When I have kids and she's a grandma, wouldn't it be wonderful to say, 'Mom, you've reached some happy weight'?" Stephanie's words, filled with frustration yet brimming with love, highlighted the absurdity of the situation and the need for empathy and understanding within the family. "And share a laugh. That's my dream. Please don't ruin it for me," Stephanie stated matter-of-factly, her gaze unwavering. Despite the straightforwardness of her delivery, her words enveloped my heart with warmth. Reminiscent of sipping hot milk with cookies on a cold day, it was a sorrowful sight, a father being admonished by his daughter. Stephanie continued, turning her focus directly on her happy because that's part of my dream. So please let it go, be happy and fulfill my dream. Her plea filled my heart with such warmth and joy that the previous concerns, being ignored by my husband, the fat shaming from my mother-in-law, or the drink incident, suddenly seemed trivial. Warm tears streamed down my cheeks. "Yes, you're right," I agreed, my vision blurred with tears. "Come on, Mom," she added, patting my back gently, urging me forward. "Oh, okay," I mumbled as I retrieved a document I had been concealing for some time. "What?" my husband exclaimed, startled. After enduring a month of being ignored, I had reached a decision. "I have my bags packed. Let's go our separate ways," I declared, presenting the divorce papers with only my name written on them. "I just wanted you to lose some weight. If you had slimmed down as I asked, I would have been satisfied," my husband confessed, a note of panic creeping into his voice. It was only when Stephanie pointed it out that I realized he was venting. "But since you didn't shed any pounds, I thought I'd torment you further. I didn't mean for it to. I didn't expect this outcome," he added. "Those who fail to notice until things escalate are the ones acting incredibly immature," Stephanie retorted sharply, her words slicing through the tension. Living without her beloved granddaughter was no laughing matter. "Stephanie, dear, you wouldn't want to keep living with us," Linda interjected softly, her voice as gentle as stroking a cat, hinting at the deep emotions stirring beneath the surface. Stephanie responded decisively to Linda's plea, her voice firm. "I decline. I no longer wish to share the same space with people who act like they're in middle school." James, sensing the seriousness of the situation, hesitated before saying, "Okay, hold on. I understand. I'll taste it as you suggest. I'll take responsibility as the one who prepared it." With that, he picked up the glass before him and downed its contents in one gulp. The sauce was as fiery as promised, causing him to eject a stream of red liquid from his mouth, leaving him with a set of lobster-like lips. "There, see? I took responsibility, didn't I?" James declared, trying to salvage some pride. Stephanie, quick to capture the moment, snapped a picture of both James and Linda with their reddened lips and remarked, "You both look so ridiculous." Then she turned to me, "Mom, let's go," before swiftly exiting the living room. "I'll follow her lead," I agreed, leaving behind a dinner table splattered with the wine cocktail mixed with the fiery sauce, along with a husband and mother-in-law, both sporting lobster-like lips. We returned to my parents' house, where I explained everything. Both my mother and father were incensed and decided to confront James and Linda. They brought back the divorce papers, and I ultimately went through with the divorce. In the following years, my ex-husband James's career hit rock bottom with no notable achievements, a pattern of behavior, ignoring issues, that I discovered was not just at home, but also at his work, contributing to his earlier demotion. My ex-mother-in-law, Linda, who had always been challenging and rarely left the house, found herself stuck in a stalemate, living only with James. Eventually, I received a call from her, tinged with regret. "Things wouldn't be so dull if you and Stephanie were here," she said, reflecting on the 15 years since Stephanie's birth and the time we all lived together. Please come back. I'll stop ignoring you. However, I had no intention of returning. Enjoy indulging while you can. Once you have grandchildren, you'll have more physical work to do, my mother joked with a smile, highlighting how life had moved on. Today, like every day, I'm walking to work, enjoying the brisk morning air. Along the way, my boss drives by and stops his car, offering me a ride. No, thank you. I decline, sticking to my routine, which has become part of my new lifestyle. Just get in, Anna, he insists, but today is different. I found a new boyfriend, someone who respects and supports me, unlike my past. I proudly share that both of us have gone through divorces, which surprisingly has deepened our connection and mutual understanding. Dieting is wonderful, but he also has a knack for punctuality. As he drives, he mentions, being late could be a problem. I've never been late before, I respond, puffing up my cheeks defensively. He looks over at me and with a playful gesture gently pokes my inflated cheek. How about you give me the time you save by riding in the car today for a little extra conversation? He suggests with a teasing smile, always the conversationalist in our relationship.